We have to start with on paper, the biggest game of the weekend. Perhaps not the most entertaining, but it was Liverpool 1, Arsenal 0, of course. They beat Arsenal again at Anfield to take an early lead in the title race. But my goodness, what a hit from that Hungarian hunk, Dominic Szoboszlai.
Just perfect. Absolutely perfect.
It's one of the best free kicks you'll ever see.
Yeah, 100%.
Just the swing on it, the angle at which it flies in, the way he beats Raya and it gets those two Liverpool players in the sort of fake wall to separate at the right time. The execution of it was,
if anything, that would have helped Raya.
Perfect. Well, in theory, yeah, but it didn't, did it?
Well, no, I'm saying that when you say he got the players to sort of move out of the way, it was like, I don't think that made a difference. If anything, that would have helped the goalkeeper, which made the finish even more spectacular.
It's an absolute Exocet missile right in the back of Raya's bin. Yeah. Like it was an incredible hit. And if you watch it again in slow motion, the technique on it as well. Yeah. It's not even necessarily that he's traditionally laced it. He just catches the time, and so it's a bit like. Do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me if you ever go to a real life, like a real life golfing event with professional golfers, right?
Take your word for it.
And you expect them to be tanking the ball, and sometimes they are, but a lot of time it's like quite slow, just the timing, and the ball flies off the club head. This was like that with Szoboszlai's boot. It didn't look like he was even putting that much effort into it. It was just a perfect technique. It was incredible.
Drogba used to hit the ball
bit like
sometimes,
that, yeah.
With the sort of the instep.
Almost the instep, yeah.
Yeah, but the power and the precision he would get on it was ridiculous. But my goodness, I know that there was a teensy tiny question mark over Raya, and people say, just as the ball's in the air, you think, he's again from slow-mo behind the goal, you think he's going to leap and maybe get that, and then he takes that extra little tiny step. But I think to look at the keeper is perhaps a little bit silly, and I think Joe Hart summed it up on Match of the Day where he just went, no, that's all about the goal.
Well, because Hart made the point that he's covering a number of possibilities before Szoboszlai hits the ball. So, I mean, it's pretty perfect where it's ended up, isn't it?
Yeah. To me, it's all about the strike.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, and it should be. And I think, that's what it's going to be remembered for. I mean, it's a great goal to win a game that was a bit sticky for Liverpool for reasons that we'll probably come on to. But what Raya does is quite interesting because he sets up the wall and then he stands on the other side of the goal. And then as Szoboszlai makes his run up, he moves into the middle, which he does a lot, Raya. And then it makes you think that if he moves into the middle already, and so his momentum's already going that way, how good does the hit have to be to still beat him? And it obviously goes in the corner off the post. I wonder, maybe it's not time to reignite this debate now for the reasons that you've just said, Marcus, but I wonder when it's that far out if you even need a wall. I think, to be honest, it kind of complicates things a little bit because there's no way a player of that quality, whether he scores or not, is going to struggle to get it up and down over the wall from that distance. The wall comes into play when you're much closer in because it's really hard to get the lift and then get the dip. From that distance, it's not hard to get the dip.
No. What about, could it be down to the new Puma ball? That's what Ryan mentioned.
Yeah. He stressed changing the balls on us.
Well, indeed. Well, he said that it moves slightly differently to the Nike ball that they've used in previous seasons. He was.
Did he say that after the goal?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so.
Into the camera. Did you not see it?
He said Szoboszlai had a Jabalani in his pocket. and I saw it. He got it out of his pocket.
It was a penny floater.
When Donald Trump drops a golf ball down his trouser leg.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was.
Can't believe you disparage a man like that.
What, Trump?
Moving on. Yes, we've always talked about the new balls and so on. I remember years and years ago when David Seaman said, some of the new balls was like a beach ball when you boot it up in the air and it kind of moves around. It didn't look, I mean, again, I'm not in goal trying to save it, I appreciate it, but it looked, as you already mentioned, that Szoboszlai had complete control and mastery over that football. But Raya was quick to say, look, it's the same for everybody, blah, blah, blah. Ultimately, it's an absolutely stupendous piece of skill and a piece of brilliance which separated the two sides because it was a bit of a stalemate, Jim.
It was, and I do appreciate the tactics that Arsenal went into this game with, actually, because I
as
think
a neutral, I didn't.
I'm sure you didn't. Yeah,
you're on your own. You're completely. I was fuming.
I appreciate what they were trying to do. I didn't enjoy the game at all. I'm sure most people that don't support Liverpool didn't as well, because it was a very, very dull affair. But I do think I understand why he's kind of taken a slightly Mourinho-ish approach to this fixture in particular at this time of the season, because they've tried so many different things at Anfield. I mean, they've drawn there in the last 2 seasons. Obviously, we know they've not won there in a long time. So I think he's gone, all right, well, we've not tried to just completely and utterly grind it from the off before. So let's give that a go. I don't think Odegaard was fit enough to start. So he's gone with Mourinho from the beginning. I think he might even have done that anyway. It looked to me like the plan was to just squeeze the game, keep it really tight until about the 70th minute, bring on your attacking players, as he did, and then effectively gamble that you can win the game when it's 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
And obviously they've been undone by a moment of brilliance. And the frustrating thing for me about the approach is if you are going to take that approach, you need to have little pockets where you do go for it, even if it's just one move.
Yeah.
But they didn't create a single big chance in the game. Liverpool didn't either, really. It was quite a dull affair across the board, apart from that one moment of brilliance. And yeah, I think it's essentially just you take that risk, don't you? There's a lot of risk in being that conservative because you have to take your chances at Anfield, and by playing in such a conservative way, you limit your chance of even making those chances. So it was frustrating. I understand the approach, and if he pulls it off, it's a tactical masterclass. But Declan Rice was taking corners from the right, which meant outswingers, which they've not really done very much, to be honest, and they were really, really ineffective. So that's a big part of the game that you kind of neutralise within yourself.
I felt like they were really focusing on potential from set pieces more than anything else.
Definitely,
and that is it's just a depressing thing to have to watch. As a Nutris Marcus said, my notes from the game, I'll just read them to you, give you an idea of how bored I was. Arteta needs to lighten up. Arne Slot is chill. He's like a small town local baker in a Dutch town, having fun, letting people off the occasional loaf. Arteta is a LinkedIn bore. Arteta is a LinkedIn bore, definitely.
He's very LinkedIn.
Arteta, if Arteta wasn't doing this, he'd be doing what Stephen Bartlett's doing.
Well, he's already a brand ambassador for Under Armour, isn't he? And they're trying to disrupt that particular area. So he's kind of doing this already.
Yeah.
Just for wedge. William Saliba got injured as well really early on, which is great. It's just ridiculous already at this point.
And they knew he was a bit in danger of that in the
he
warm-up.
hurt himself in the warm-up.
I mean, Mosquera comes in and gives a very, very good
did
account
very
of
well.
himself. Not exactly that familiar with the Premier League, of course.
No.
So I appreciate what you said about the tactics and Arsenal's approach and so on and so forth.
But they just need to lighten up, Marcus. They need to lighten up Arsenal, don't they?
But I do agree ultimately with that. But I get what what you say, Jim, about for the first hour or 70 minutes, if it works and so on and so forth. As I said, the first day of the season when they played against Manchester United, I want more from Arsenal, and I'm sure as an Arsenal fan you would agree with that point
Profoundly.
I mean, indeed, last season. You mentioned, was he going to sort of Jose Mourinho at Anfield? Well, when Mourinho played these types of games, he would win 1-0 when he was winning titles.
He'll be happy with a 0-0 away in a knockout game in the Champions League or something.
Yeah, but there was. I felt with Mourinho, evidently with the titles he won here, and I'm talking about vintage Mourinho. The medals speak for themselves. With Arteta, what is it? Finished second 3 seasons in a row. I think. Well, okay. What he's done at Arsenal has been impressive. It is that getting over the line. I feel he's more Southgate than Mourinho. I've said this before, and I think he's in the same way. He's changed the culture at Arsenal, and he's re-established Arsenal as one of the best, the second best side in the country, consistently there. People want to go and play for Arsenal. There's a buzz around the place. All that kind of stuff. It's about getting over the line, and I just look at games like this, and I know, look, it's the first time Arsenal have lost a game against a Big Six team in the Prem since April 2023. Which in one sense is not that long ago, but in another sense, I think it's games in there. Yeah, I think it's a noteworthy statistic. So I don't want to be too harsh, but it's early in the season and blah blah blah. They've lost 3 points to their rival, and 3 points can win or lose a Premier League. And they've got to do a bit more, Luke.
Yeah,
they deserve everything they get.
Yeah.
Look, the thing is, I'm sat here now, and I don't mean this to be pejorative about either of you, but just going to contextualise what I'm about to say. Jim's an Arsenal fan, and you think Arsenal will win the league this season, and you also said you think they win at Anfield. You said that last week. You said you thought they win.
I did, because I'm trying to will it into existence for poor old Jim here.
Well, he doesn't need your help. No. If he wants your help, he'll ask for it.
Yeah. Why does he keep turning up?
But if you, I asked that before we came on, and apparently I'm rude. Only one team set up to win the game. Liverpool didn't create an awful lot themselves, but that's partly because of how Arsenal's set up. I know Arsenal have some key injuries. They have been unlucky with injuries, for sure. But I also think you don't help yourself when you set up in that way. And what Arteta's able to do, I feel like from the outside looking in, is just surgically remove the joy out of stuff. Like I think it would have been a real statement. For example, I mean, to me, he has to play Eze ahead of Martinelli. He has to play him. I mean, Eze is a player who is raring to go. The momentum of him signing, the manner in which they signed him, the fact that he supports Arsenal, he can go to Anfield and really can take the game to Liverpool.
Scored winners there before as well, or a winner there.
Quite. Yet he plays Martinelli, who, I know it's easy to be wise after the event, he's never really going to do anything. It's just so disappointing.
The thing with Martinelli, though, is we mentioned it last week.
He's just trying too hard, Arteta, I feel like.
Well, I think with Martinelli, he's quite an effective defensive forward. So I think the idea of starting him was to sort of get a measure of the game, try and keep it tight. I think he was part of that thinking, but I completely agree. I think it's disappointing that they don't kind of go for it a little bit more. And obviously, if Arsenal nick that 1-0, we're all saying it's a tactical masterclass, and that's the thing, and that's what they're trying to do.
But this is the thing. I get what you're saying, Jim. This is. We are literally. I do, because we're talking about the margins. You're saying, and rightly so. But if this, because Szoboszlai's goal, it's an absolute worldie out of nothing. So again, Arsenal completely restricted Liverpool, and even if it's 0-0, I still think there's a little bit of the same. But ultimately, they don't win the game. And I thought Liverpool, as much as Liverpool have been in the last few years, this is too extreme to say, but not there for the taking. But I just thought that Arsenal went into this game and you knew the frailties there. Yeah. You look at Bournemouth on the first day of the season, the emotion of the event basically gets Liverpool the win, right? And fair play. You see them against Newcastle. The sending off helps, but even with the sending off, we mentioned that it was like Liverpool had a man fewer than Newcastle, the way the game was going. And a Community Shield even, they've not looked convincing in all three of their competitive games, Community Shield included, this season. And I thought, Arsenal, go there and take the game to them.
Yeah, they've not played particularly well in any game, and they've got 9 points. Yeah. And they lead the league. It's kind of ridiculous.
Similar to last season.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think, I agree, like, even if you're going to play that type of game where you are trying to keep it tight, I just think they should have brought the attacking players on a little bit earlier, because Liverpool had started to get a hold in the game and it was starting to sort of tilt in their favour a little
Jones
bit.
Made a difference coming on,
did, and
as he often does.
Arsenal were under a bit more pressure than they have been before. So just go to that second phase of the game a bit earlier. You've got the first phase done. You've kept it to 0-0. You've made it tight. Just do it a bit earlier. Easy to be wise after the fact. The thing that annoyed me most was him bringing Max Dowman on. I think it's ridiculous to bring him on in that situation.
I thought that.
Ethan Nwaneri scored 9 goals from that position last season as a 17-year-old. He's shown that he's got the maturity to make the right decisions in those moments and affect games. I just thought that's a Hail Mary.
It felt like a distraction.
It's kind of weirdly thoughtless, actually.
Yeah, I agree totally. And having said that, I think he overthinks a lot of stuff, which I think he does. I actually wrote in my notes for the game, I just thought it was ridiculous that he did that. Look, on the Liverpool side of things, to me, you're seeing signs of why they're the favourites to win the league. Yeah. Again, I think you've got to factor in the idea they've brought in. Well, so in the game yesterday, they had 3 new players in key positions, right? So Wirtz and Kerkez and Ekitike, right? And it's not that often you see a title-winning team make as many moves in the transfer window as they have. They're trying to strengthen in kind of a lot of different areas. Obviously, Szoboszlai was playing in an unfamiliar position as well and was the difference maker. Liverpool are building nicely, right? They've not been fluent, I agree. I think... you guys have talked quite a lot today about if Arsenal had done this and then you mentioned that if Newcastle had done that and all the rest of it. The reality is it carries on, and after a while you have to understand it's not a coincidence. Sure. And Liverpool haven't been fluent, but they've always found a way. I actually think the positives from them. It was Kerkez's best performance at Liverpool. It was Wirtz's best performance. Again, he wasn't amazing or anything, but if you look at someone like Florian Wirtz's ceiling, which is really high. I mean, it's like one of the world's best players high. Yeah. And giving him time just to find his way in that kind of creative midfield position and having a bit more of an influence and you could see him trying to get closer to Ekitike, get closer to Salah. He was going to find the ball quite a lot early on, but then he kind of changed. And all this is building up towards the fact that they're going to be a real force again this season. I mean, even when you factor in that Alexis McAllister isn't fully fit yet, Gravenberch really hasn't hit his straps either. Konate's found it tough. They're still winning.
Rumours of a new striker coming in as well.
Apparently so.
But you're right, Luke. But it is similar to last season. If you remember, after what was it, 8 or 9 games last season that, Forest had won at Anfield, but otherwise they'd been pretty perfect. And I remember thinking, they're top. They've not done anything particularly spectacular. And that's what I fear for Arsenal, and my prediction's sake, is that it all just kind of looks pretty much
as
the
you
same
were.
again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even to Man City. To
Look
to
at
all the rest-
Zubimendi in there. Zubimendi comes in a massive fanfare in that position, really key. I'm not saying anyone here was saying this, but some of the chat around Zubimendi coming in was he could be Arsenal's Rodri, right? He goes, obviously not on his own, but he goes up against McAllister and Gravenberch, neither of whom are at full biff, right? And he's nowhere near it. I thought he had a really poor game.
Yeah. How much biff were they at? 60% biff?
I think McAllister's at about, from what I've seen, McAllister's at about 60% biff.
Right.
Gravenberch is probably higher than that.
Right.
But Gravenberch has had a truncated start because he was suspended for the first game.
Yeah.
So
Do they have an almanac as well that they could predict the result on?
it's not related to Back to the Future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But once McAllister and Gravenberch are full biff, it's title time. It's party time. It's fan dabby dozy, Jim.
It's a lot of biff in one midfield.
Biff everywhere.
And Alexander Isak is joining in with the biff. Have I got that wrong?
Isak might not be at full biff either because he hasn't played.
Yeah. He's not even training, as we understand.
I love that he thinks. I love that the exact thing about him not training at Newcastle is funny for the reasons you've just alluded to. But there's also an amazing arrogance to it because he's just obviously thinking, well, Liverpool champions, they've won every game this season. Ekitike scored already a couple of times. I'll probably just walk into that team even though I haven't been training, won't I?
I hope he has just been sort of sat on the sofa watching Netflix and eating ice cream.
And I hope he's on the bench
Not even running.
I hope he's on the bench for Liverpool till fucking December.
Yeah, 125 million boys, apparently.
There you go.
He's going
Buys
forward.
you a lot of biff, that.
If you want the big biff, you've got to pay the big
That's
bucks.
true. That's
Exactly.
true. It would be a British transfer record fee. So yes, at the time of recording, it looks like it's going to happen. He's expected to undergo medical later today before signing a 6-year contract, and that's it's a good example.
That can fuck off, can't it?
No, it's really
for the rest
important
of
to
us.
mention that he's doing a 6-year contract because, as we've seen, he'll definitely honour it all the way through.
He
the
does
end.
like to honour it.
The
Yes.
length is really important for a player like
Well,
Isak.
I think it's a good example, kids. If you to get where you want to be in life, just throw a wobbler.
Yeah.
Just throw a massive.
Watch my son.
That's true. Yeah, there is a time to stop doing it. But clearly, with Isak, there's a time to reignite that sort
Is
of.
he a rat?
He is a rat, but it'll be their rat, right? So it'll be different.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah,
Splinter. He's Splinter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Splinter was a very good positive role model for rats.
I feel like I should stick up for rats.
Right.
Very important species, very successful species.
I mean, all the species are important.
Yeah, but some are more important than others, though. To paraphrase George Orwell, I would say
Says the Communist Party.
we do a lot. We do a lot of experiment. I'm Trump most weeks. Take your mind up.
They meet in the middle.
I'm so cynical.
Yeah.
I'll go anywhere.
What a meeting that it would be.
But what I'm saying is, rats. We do a lot of experimentation on rats.
Do we?
for medical reasons,
For
stuff
better
like
or
that.
for worse?
They've played a big role.
And they love
I'll
Very
tell you,
affectionate animals.
they
Apparently,
love
as well.
cheesecake.
there we go. Rats are at full biff, and they always have been.
That's true. Apart from if cheesecake's the only thing they'll eat too much of.
Is that right?
They'll lose their
Like
minds.
you.
Yeah.
Although marzipan, you are.
All of it.
Yeah.
Marzipan or anything free.
Yeah, definitely. He loves a free lunch.
That's true. Actually, no. If there was like free salad,
The other day,
that's safe.
I mentioned to Marcus the other day as we were rounding down the show. I said there's sausage rolls in the kitchen. You couldn't see him for dust. It was like the Road Runner.
I'd already eaten one.
Yeah, I was Wilder Coat. I put a 1 ton weight above the sausage rolls, but you got away with
Bloody
it.
good sausage roll. That.
We're not far away from you bringing a Tupperware in, are we?
No,
Not far.
No,
Not far.
that's not.
It's a good idea. Well, yes.
Good win for Liverpool though.
Good win for Liverpool.
Yeah, but
Isak's on his
really
way.
good win for Liverpool.
Yeah.
It's the win that titles are made of.
Indeed,
that sort of
Jim.
thing, isn't it? And
Yeah.
they've already done that against Newcastle.
Now, the transfer deadline passes at 7 p.m. today. Marc Guehi is going to be interesting what happens with him today. Obviously, started and scored an absolute peach. Goal of the month contender for Crystal
Well,
Palace.
if Bosland had done the same thing a few hours before, it would have been.
Yeah, but you don't just have. I
Okay,
said
you got to have a
contender.
contender. Yeah.
Exactly. Come on.
Okay, a contender.
And it gets my vote.
Okay.
I don't get a
He
vote.
just sent you some sausage rolls in the post. That's all right. It's absolute bribery. It's rank bribery.
Well, on Marc Guehi, Oliver Glasson said last night, I like Mark. He is such a professional player and such a nice guy. It is for the future of Crystal Palace. We have to keep him. We don't have the right replacement. So for me, it is clear that we keep him, which is interesting because obviously Parish and the hierarchy at the club have said that they need to make sales. They sold Eberechi Eze. It will be very interesting to see if Palace think, do you know what? for the money we could get for Guehi, actually we're better off having him because that may well mean longer run in European competition, further up the league, all the money that could bring in, and for the quality of the season that they could have. He is a big player for them. Do they cash in or do they listen to Oliver Glasner and take that on board? Big decision.
I expect what will happen is that they'll sell him in January. Little from column A, little from column B.
Marc
There's the
Guehi,
compromise.
you could say Marc Guehi, amid a lot of transfer interest from Liverpool, has chosen a different type of strike, i.e. a strike against Aston Villa.
Yes.
To
Who have
make
been
his fee.
very accommodating this season. We've not really got around to their start yet, but such is the packed schedule.
Yes.
They were pathetic last night.
Yeah, they've been very, very poor.
But Guehi, it's getting late in the day. I mean, we're going to do a transfer show tomorrow after the deadline closes, so we're going to talk about it properly then. But it feels to me, maybe this is an old-fashioned opinion, but it feels to me that for a player of that quality and the money we're talking about and all that rest of it, notwithstanding the idea that I suppose a lot of the details may have been sorted out already, it feels like it's quite late for this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so who knows? But like Paquetá did his old phone thing, which is quite funny,
Yeah, we'll talk about West
and
Ham.
said that he's staying. But who knows? I mean, who knows? Palace were linked with a young French defender from Toulouse, JD Convo.
Yeah, but he's 18, isn't he?
19, I think.
Seems unlikely that he'd come in as a first-team player, right?
It was being reported by some lazier news outlets that he was going to be a long-term replacement for Guehi. But at 19, I mean, Guehi's a captain at Palace. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a risk.
that victory against Villa bodes very well because Eze has obviously moved on, but I know Villa have been poor this season. You go away in the Premier League to a side who are on paper better than you. You hammer them 3-0. I know they've got the reading of Villa. Remember that semi-final in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
But bloody hell, you think, well, actually, we're all right. We're in good shape.
Yeah.
really
The key
worrying
figure
for-
there is Glasner, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It's the same with Bournemouth, with great win. You look at the match, same for Fulham as well, slightly different. You keep Silva, you keep Iraola, you keep Glasner. They are the main guys. And I think that for Palace, even if Guehi was to go, I wouldn't worry about them at all. And I would still put them down as going deep in the Conference League, of course. So yes, the show tomorrow with Jim, Luke and Pete will look at all the deals that have happened on deadline
Not
day.
all of them.
And all the
I'm not doing like...
I nearly called him Visser there. Johan Wisser get his wish because you talk about. I did find it funny with his
Johan
statement. He was saying, they need to honour the promise they made, and I was like, but you've signed a contract.
Yeah, you've made one as well.
Yeah,
That statement might as well start with, I am fucking furious.
Yes, exactly.
It was really, really... I mean, the great thing was he's probably gone about dictating it or telling them what he wanted to say, and they've had to really couch it in like acceptable language. You could really feel the kind of the vitriol dripping off it.
Yes. Talking of vitriol, one transfer we expect confirmation of is Jamie Vardy to Cremonese.
Yes.
Jamie Vardy in Serie A. That's what we want.
It's an amazing prospect.
Yeah.
It was incredible to see the video that someone took, I think it was shared on the Sun's website, of Vardy arriving there.
Mm-hmm.
And you just never really expect a player like him to move to a team like that. Yeah. And the fans, it wasn't quite like when Darius Vassell went to Turkey, but it did remind me of that a little bit.
I know what you mean.
Because
it's a great move.
He turned down the chance to go and play for Van Persie.
Oh, did he?
In Holland,
yes,
as well. Which
he's been burned by Dutch strikers. Let's be honest, managing.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I suppose. But I just think Vardy doing the rounds in Holland would be amazing.
Yeah,
I'm not sure he's that well suited to Italian life.
No,
I don't know.
That's part of the fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of fish out of water.
I mean, they always, it's a league where you can play when you're a bit older because it's slightly slower paced and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
maybe that pace will be back. I think I'm really.
I don't think Vardy's pace has looked that bad. Though.
No. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
and yeah, I mean the city of Cremona, known for its violin making.
Is it really?
A few hundred years, so he'll get the violin out. Like what was that Italian striker? I forget his name. He used to do the violin celebration. He was in the 2006 squad, I think.
I can't remember.
Yeah. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Well, good luck, Vardy. Right, coming up after this, that beautiful boy Jack Grealish does it again.
Without Emi Martinez not in the squad at all tonight, why is that?
Bisotto. Marco Bisotto.
Where is Emi Martinez, though?
Marco Bisotto.
Will he be your future goalkeeper?
Marco Bisotto. The time is over.
Well, back to the Football Ramble, everybody. Unai Emery there, just sort of, I don't know, was that an AI Unai Emery who just got stuttery? And
I'll tell you what makes it sinister.
Yeah.
Is the interviewer is speaking to him like there's been the disappearance of a child.
Yes.
Where is Emi Martinez? Where is Emi Martinez? Bizot.
Yeah.
It took me a while to work out what he's actually saying.
And no, you've just made yourself the number one candidate.
Suspect.
Not his suspect is the word. Yes, he's the candidate for the murder.
Good news, we made you a candidate. By the way, Italian striker violin, I checked in the break. Alberto Gilardino.
Gilardino, thank you for that. Yeah. Thank you, Google. And thanks to friend of the Ramble, Quali, for sending us that clip on Discord. You can become a friend of the Ramble too for just $5 a month. You'll get the Ramble up front and on the continent, completely ad-free, and access to the Football Ramble Discord, where you can chat with us and other Ramble listeners and get yourself a nice little community there. Search patreon.com/Football Ramble to get involved. Now, I didn't think I would be uttering this today. Nottingham Forest 0, West Ham United 3. I know it's trouble in paradise in Forest's ranks, but my goodness, Jim Campbell, what a win for West Ham.
Yeah.
They've needed a result and a clean sheet as well.
I would not have expected this in the 80th minute of this game, to be honest, because it was fairly... it looked like it was heading for a pretty routine 0-0. Much better performance from West Ham. That was obvious from the start. Obviously, we've seen them have some quite shocking displays recently, but I think going to a traditional back four was a big part of it. They look way more structured.
And fair play to Potter to do that.
Absolutely. And what they did really, really well was they denied Nottingham Forest space. And if you, it's such a simple and basic principle, but you kind of starve them of oxygen if you do that. And on top of that, I think quite a few of Forest's better players had off days as well. Morgan Gibbs-White in particular had a couple of passes he made that were perhaps the technique wasn't quite right or the decision making wasn't quite right, but there were quite a few performances from Forest players on the day that led to that. And obviously that's not particularly helpful for them at the moment, but the flurry of goals at the end, brilliant finish from Bowen. He's so reliable for them, such a sort of talismanic player. And I think my highlight of the whole game was what should have been Bowen's second and West Ham's fourth, but Callum Wilson just took the ball off of his foot just as he was about to pull the trigger.
Well, Bowen got the shot away, but Wilson got in the way.
Sure, but he stopped that from being a goal, isn't he?
It was Messi-esque. When he wriggles. It was a bit like that goal at the Bernabeu when he wriggles around the defenders and so on.
Yeah.
And when you're seeing it, you're like, well, this is none of that candidate for goal of the month nonsense. This is going to be goal of the season. Yeah. And he does get the shot. It was a good save, but Wilson didn't help, and Bowen was furious with him.
Yeah,
absolutely furious.
He's still furious with him. Let's be honest.
They seem to be all right at the final whistle.
As furious as he was with those fans against Wolves.
Well, yeah.
Well, you know what? The narrative around West Ham has been there since the start of the season. And to a large extent, rightly so. Potter's been under huge pressure, but against Wolves, even though they lost the game, they did actually show a bit. The game against Wolves was where Bowen started to, almost like he was easing his way into the season, he started to kind of hit his straps. Paquetá scored in that game as well, by the way. And those two players are going to be absolutely key. The most damning thing you could say for Forest is kind of at one point in kind of two parts, really. One is that Elliot Anderson was really the only midfield player doing anything, and he was trying to do it all himself, and he seemed really buoyed by his England call-up and all the rest of it. But he's the shift he put in was incredible. But the fact that West Ham won this game 3-0 away from home, as Jim alluded to, with two players in midfield, basically a human feather and a human fucking cargo ship in midfield together, yet still managed to win 3-0. Now, it is worth pointing out that I think Ward-Prowse came off before any of those goals went in. Andy Irving came on. They've also signed Matías Fernandes.
He had a really good game.
They need badly. And he can play obviously a little bit deeper as well if he wants to. Well, not if he wants to, if the manager lets him. He doesn't get to choose.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah. So it could be that if, and there's a lot of ifs to the point I'm about to make, if Paquetá and Bowen get firing and stay consistent,
which there's a real chance they could.
Totally. Because Paquetá's now intimating that he's staying.
As you say, with that celebration,
I
mean, if he goes
it's a very descriptive celebration.
I'll tell you something, if he goes today, what a rat.
Oh, mate, that's
absolutely.
Can I just say
that's
two words?
Worse than anything.
Carlos Tevez. Every Carlos Tevez stuff.
It would be shocking.
No, I was throwing the phone out after the call had finished.
Because it was such an easy decision. Yes, throw away.
I prefer text.
I would look for banter's sake. Surely there's got to be an owner of a Premier League club today going, All right, let's see.
Yeah, let's test it.
Let's see. 300 grand a week you want? Fine.
Let's test the
We'll do
result.
that. We're in Champions League.
Yeah. We hear you've got quite the overheads, Lucas Paquetá. And if the other if of the final if of this point is if Callum Wilson will stay fit, because Callum Wilson
Made a difference.
He did make a big difference, and he looks several rungs on the quality ladder above Nicholas Fulkrug.
But
Right?
but you're right. If he can stay fit, and that's always been the problem with Wilson in recent seasons. But they've got two proper forwards there.
Yeah.
And I know that West Ham United with their number 9s have struggled a bit. But Luke's right. With that front line. But the conversation, it's so funny how the conversation can change. Because I said on Friday that Jose Mourinho will be West Ham manager by the time the international break is done. Now, I don't know whether it was a case of make or break for Potter. We don't know, because they won the game and they won it in quite a bit of style. But it certainly buys him a bit of time. It certainly makes him and the club feel a lot better about themselves going into the international break now. But if this result has scuppered Mourinho at West Ham, I am a bit pissed off. Though.
Yeah, that is annoying.
The only thing that will cheer me up is a pay-per-view option for the Nuno meeting with Marinakis this week.
Yeah,
That would be good.
Actually, to be fair, on the one hand, it has made it less likely that he'll turn up at West Ham, but also on the other, it's made it more likely that he'll turn up at Forest. So, you might still get to have your free cake and eat it.
Well, on Friday we were talking about would he manage West Ham or Rangers? Well, even Rangers managed a stinking 0-0 with Celtic, and it's like, we're going to have to wait a bit more for Mourinho.
That was a surprise to me as well. I thought Rodgers would out-tactic Martin into the bin.
Yeah.
It's a long way back from Kazakhstan.
I think it's Rangers' worst start in a long, long time.
It is.
Yeah.
But back in the Premier League, Nottingham Forest have some big questions that are hanging over them. Most notably, will Nuno Espirito Santo still be the manager for much longer? I mean, reports that he was going to be sacked after his relationship with the owner Marinakis had deteriorated. And I find Nuno is cutting a very different figure than what he did last season. If you remember when Marinakis came on the pitch when they were when in the Leicester game, I think it was when they sort of messed up on their quest to qualify for Champions League, and Marinakis comes on the pitch. It's all very obvious, but Nuno was very, very calm and very politician-like about it. These things happen, and he downplayed it, and he's very calm. Is Nuno this season when he's being asked these questions? He's not flying off the handle. That's not his style, but he's being much more almost elusive with his language.
Yeah, he's not...
and his purpose, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
I appreciate it's not his first language, but he's been speaking English. And as I say, compare it to last season, it's quite clear that he himself is not happy, Jim.
Yeah, he's not making any robust denials about the uncertainty.
And he's not smoothing it over.
No, he's absolutely not.
It's because of Edu, isn't it?
That is the story, isn't it?
The story is that
they fell out so badly that they weren't on speaking terms. I don't know what it's like now, but it's apparently it's like really personal and really tricky.
But what does Marinakis do? Edu's is sort of fairly new man.
But I think,
or does he have to choose?
But I think Marinakis was again a pay-per-view event. I'll watch it. Marinakis and Nuno, I think, had a really close kind of relationship. Nuno had felt like he had a lot more influence in things, and they bring in Edu. And he just works, in a completely different way. And it's, as Jim said, it's kind of just all fallen over, which is kind of interesting on one level, because I understand the motivation of wanting to bring yourself up to a higher level with a really experienced sporting director or whatever. But then in retrospect, it looks a bit...
done.
Yeah, but it just looks like, if it's not broke, why are you trying to fix it? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
Oh, my goodness. The thought of... I mean, Mourinho is the spectre at the feast. We often say it's like Sean Dyche, his wagon.
I just feel
it's maybe early for that, but
I can't explain why.
Yeah, go on.
But I'm going to say something quite controversial here, and this is just genuinely how I feel.
Yeah,
I'm definitely up for Mourinho going to West Ham.
Yeah,
but I think it's a bit insulting if he goes to Forest.
I do agree with that. But Marinakis and Mourinho teaming up.
Yeah,
fireworks.
Yeah.
But Mourinho talking about how
they won't be teaming up though, will they? That's the problem.
and Jim, again, it would be disastrous for Forest.
Yeah,
it'd be great for us here. Sorry, Forest.
Mourinho, after a couple of really particularly poor Forest results, just talking about quote unquote the Clough team and like really disrespecting that kind of era of Forest. And, come on. I think it would be a little bit unsavory.
When you go in there, I know you're a Europa League team, but as far as I'm concerned,
throw it in the bin. Throw it in the bin.
You got it through cheating.
Take all your medals.
You got it through the Slack admin of another team.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You won that Europa League place via an email. Or the lack of one, should I say. Now, you've got to be careful doing Clough, because you can end up doing Savile.
Yes.
If you're not careful.
Oh, yeah.
You found that to your displeasure in the past?
I've never been asked back.
No. I tell you what, he never started another marathon. He was never the official starter from London Marathon again after that.
It was a question we'll get up, but there we are.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on.
Put your cigar down. Let's move on.
Yes, come on. Let's move on to Brighton 2, Manchester City 1. It's another loss.
Yeah.
It is.
Another loss for Man City.
Can I just chuck I don't really do that many stats because I think it's boring broadcasting. But
Okay.
if I may very briefly be able to say that that weirdly enough, Brighton did the exact same thing in this game last season.
Yeah.
They came back from 1-0 down at home to Man City by scoring 2 goals from players off the bench.
Yeah.
Which is a really weird.
And Haaland scored the goal for them as well.
Haaland did score the goal for them, yeah.
Well, this is
Yeah.
it. Man City, they're not scary anymore.
That's it. And also, the one kind of bit of that legacy they had left was that Rodri record, right?
Yep.
And that's gone now as well.
Do you know, and also as well, yes, important to say that, Jim, but Haaland is still obviously, I say they're not scary. I still think Man City are like the third best team in the country.
Haaland had a lot of chances.
He did. And it's no mean feat being the third best team in England or there or thereabouts. It's in my thoughts. But last season, I proclaimed, didn't I? The empire is over under Pep. It's as good. It's never going to be the same, and it isn't. It's just not going to be the same, and it isn't the same quite clearly.
Yeah.
Because even Haaland, what Haaland used to do, or not used to do, he can still do it. Haaland's still one of the best centre forwards in the world, possibly the best. He scores the goal, and was it old Van Hecker?
Yes.
He barges him out the way. He's right, and he loves a bit of all that. Well, when Brighton equalised, I think Lewis Dunk has a sort of a little laugh, doesn't he, in Haaland's ear, and he goes, right, they get the winner, and it's just like, mate, you're not you individually, yes, but your team is not what it used to be. And, there was only going to be one winner. When Milner puts that penalty away, and marvellous for James Milner scoring. I mean, come on. The second oldest scorer, the second youngest scorer. Nice bit of symmetry in that.
I think he's going to take Gareth Barry's Premier League appearance record. I think that's what he's got his eye on.
I can't believe James Milner doesn't already have it.
Yeah,
That
crazy.
shows how
must be a
amazing Gareth
mistake.
Barry
Yeah.
was. Shows how consistent
The
Gareth Barry was.
longevity in that man's career,
Yeah.
being such a 16-year-old bursting onto the scene, and he's still going and scores a crucial one there. And you backed him from the spot. He's so reliable with penalties. But there was only going to be one winner. You thought to yourself that Man City were just, yes, in the first half they were a lot better. But look at Brighton again. There was no kind of, all right, we've equalised. Okay, it's Man City. Let's just keep it. It was just like, no, we know what we're doing here.
Yeah. I mean, we often said, didn't we, even when they seemed completely kind of invincible, that quite often teams would lose the game in their heads before they'd even started.
It's like
they
Tyson.
go
It's
onto
like
the
Mike
pitch.
Tyson.
Exactly right.
Go on the
yeah.
pitch 1-0 down. And we often wondered, like, what happens if teams just kind of throw that out the window and attack them a bit more? And sometimes, remember, even Southampton last season got a little bit of joy doing that. And that was perhaps a kind of herald of what was to come. And that kind of, that fear isn't there, as you're suggesting. So teams are now just fully aware that this is just 10 human beings and one Viking cyborg, and you can beat them.
Well, yeah, I mean, Pep said his team forgot to continue playing after they went ahead. He also said they were tired late on. And Rodri said, they're not up to the level yet. New players need time to adapt, etc., etc., etc. Okay, fine, but this is
But
just not. It's not. My point that I'm repeating is it's not the same as it was now 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
It's not a case of last season. So it's not the same. They're still a very good football team. They will play very good football this season. They'll have amazing moments. They'll win some matches. They'll go deep in the cups. FA Cup finals, blah 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 blah. They're not going to win the league.
Yeah, I think they've got a problem at right back as well. It
Still.
seems to be Mateus Nunes or Rico Lewis, neither of whom are particularly convincing there. Neither of them are sort of a peak Kyle Walker for sure.
There's areas where I'll kind of sympathise a bit with what Guardiola and what Rodri said. There is some truth into the idea that Rodri's been out for so long, such a serious injury. You can't expect... I know why people are mentioning the record going, but you can't expect him to be full biff.
Of course not.
Right? Straight away. It is right to say that Reinders, Ait Nouri, are new players, and you've got other players as well that didn't feature at the weekend that are also new. Oscar Bob spent a lot of time out of injury, and he started the game. Kusanov has found it really, really tough, and they're suffering as well because Guardiola's injured. So there's a lot of these are not kind of reasons that doesn't affect any other club.
No, I get what you're saying.
But I mean, we're still only 3 games in. We talked earlier before the break about Liverpool having these issues to deal with, but still finding the way to win. That's probably the big difference. The fear factor is definitely part of it for sure. But Brighton beat him at home last season.
Yeah.
Brighton are a good home side,
and it's within the realms of possibility. After moments just proclaiming they're not going to win the league, it's within the realms of possibility that in the second half of the season they they really go for it, Man City, and we've seen that. Even last season, the second half, after that sort of 2.5 month blip or whatever it was, they finished strongly. And in their season when they won the treble, they had a couple of sloppy results, I think, in the first half, and then woof, off they went. I personally, as I've said time and time again, I don't see it happening this time. But if Guardiola can pull it out the bag, and it's very early days for this chat, so forgive me, everybody, it would be quite remarkable. But a great win for Brighton, though.
A massive win for Brighton, for sure.
One thing I would say is maybe they shouldn't have loaned out Jack Grealish.
Oh my God, this is such a great move.
I'm
This is one of the
thrilled.
best things to happen so far this season.
Absolutely, it's definitely sort of one of the kind of heartwarming narratives of the season so far.
Get me out of that sinking ship, and I will assist with my head sometimes.
Oh man,
I'm looking at Jack Grealish having the absolute time of his life.
Got a calf on his head.
Oh God, just
Calf
running
muscle
through
on his head, Jim.
Oh, it's beautiful. And Kiernan Dewsbury Hall looks revitalised. Get Jadon Sancho into Everton and get David Moyes to refurbish him. That's what he's doing.
Totally.
He is like
It's like the repair shop before it was problematic.
Yeah. Only one of them, though. Only one of them's problematic.
Well, you already want competition for Grealish.
The show's still... Well, hang on, he's talking about repair shop here.
Sorry.
The show's still touring, Jim.
All right, it's like the repair shop.
Before that... Yeah, thank you. He is like... David Moyes is like one of the guys who restores those old like antique chairs.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I think going back to... Link back to Arteta, what does Moyes do? He doesn't overcomplicate it. He sets them up to defend really well. And then he sprinkles it, Jim, with a little bit of seasoning.
Exactly.
A little bit of Salt Bay Jack Grealish.
And that's why I think Everton...
I don't want Mikel Arteta to be more like David Moyes.
Jim.
Just putting on the record.
Jim.
Salt Bay.
This is Grealish.
Yeah?
Off the elbow
it is a peanut.
onto the Everton side.
Oh, it goes on his elbow. That's gross.
Yeah, it does. It sprinkles it out.
It's horrible.
Yeah, David Moyes is Salt Bay. If Salt Bay was involved in football,
I think it's the least likely, other than Sean Dyche, person that I would have likened to Salt Bay.
he'd chop you up though, wouldn't he? If you got pissed off.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, big knife,
Grealish
pair of gloves.
Grealish didn't get a call up to the England squad, but I tell you what, Thomas, get him in the next one, you fool. Right, coming up after this, Ruben Amorim hates his kids. Now then, everybody. Go on then. Let's talk about Manchester United. They won a game.
They did.
How about that, man? United
Another
fans.
heartwarming story.
3-2 against Burnley.
That Josh Cullen own goal.
Oh,
like Man United, they needed that.
Yeah,
they needed that massively.
Well, that was the funny thing. When Mbumo scores, it's the first time one of their players had scored in the league this season. And, they really... Oh, bloody hellfire.
You can't help but look at this through the lens that we all on this show look at it through, which is that we want it to be as funny as possible, and just be really annoyed with Jadon Anthony conceding the silliest possible penalty right at the end.
How can
avoidable.
How can we realistically expect to have sympathy for Manchester United when they turn down the opportunity to play Tom Heaton in goal?
I know, that was the real.
He wasn't even in the squad.
That is such a shame.
Yeah, what a bunch of fucking dick teasers. We thought we were going to see Tommy Heats. We thought we were going to see T-Heat.
It was the Tommy Eaton derby as well.
Yeah, exactly, against his old club.
Piss poor.
Really, he's at home, is he? Great, well done, Amorim. You're winning no friends with that kind of decision making over here.
All your good work that you've done to get us, for us to like you. Go and do that. Oh dear. But he's got to learn from Potter with his system, hasn't he? Just change it once.
Yeah.
See how you get on.
Make it harder for them to score.
I love
just try that.
I love the way that he is absolutely salting the earth at Manchester United with all these young players. They can't play in quite a rigid formation, so they're going.
Get lost. Out you go. Give us the profit. I mean, he cared about that penalty, didn't he?
Yeah.
Although he didn't watch it apparently.
No.
And they scored. I mean, he was
good leadership,
sat with his feet up, facing the Stretford.
Good leadership, that.
Yeah. Quite literally an absence of it, isn't it?
We've tried to
literally.
Right, and it is.
Can you imagine?
You're
David Moyes. Well, I'm not watching this penalty.
18-year-old player on the bench or something, looking to your manager for a bit of kind of leadership inspiration, first time you've experienced something or whatever, and he's literally following a penalty shootout in which he was so nervous he couldn't watch any of the penalties against Grimsby Town.
But it wasn't. I think he was just disgusted.
Partly, I think.
Yeah,
but I think he's also nervous as well because of the pressure he's under.
Well, of course.
Playing with his little book.
Yeah, these little magnets. It's been reported that Manchester United have agreed personal terms with Emi Martinez. That is throwing a shithouse Argentinian international among the pigeons, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. I'm surprised. I don't see what is really in that for Martinez, other than probably more money.
I was going to say.
Actually, you're throwing the kitchen sink at that.
Yep.
without turning the water off first.
Yes.
This could massively blow up in their faces because of the type of character he is. But if it goes the other way, it could be a really good move.
Well, clearly
He's a really good goalkeeper.
He's a good keeper, and
Yeah,
he's
of
not.
course.
I think maybe, I don't know. They're looking at the communication with the back four or three. Sorry,
Yeah.
with the defenders and so on. It smacks a little bit of desperation, but I sort of see it.
Well, the problem is we can look at this two ways. We can look at this sitting here on a Monday and go, Man United have won a game and they scored 3 goals, and they're sorting out their goalkeeping problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great, that's a positive sign. But if you drill in just very briefly, well, they weren't in control of the game at any point against Burnley. Burnley are a poor side in Premier League standard.
Yeah.
Secondly, they're doing what they've done over and over again, throwing money at a problem. It's not even that long ago they signed Bayindir. It's not that long ago they signed Onana.
Yeah.
Their scouting is obviously all over the place, partly because, which is then exacerbated by the fact the environment these players are going into is diabolically bad, and Martinez is a combustible character. So you could argue they're just repeating the same mistake over and over again.
I think Martinez has made a different stuff though, and I don't think I don't think he's going to upset his teammates or anything like that. I don't think he's that type of character.
They all think that though, don't they, when they go through the door there?
Sure, but Jim, also not only that. You're right to say that, Marcus, but something's got to give. If Martinez is used to, if he's amazing in the dressing room and he's a brilliant natural leader and he's won the fucking World Cup and he's used to playing at a very high level, Champions League, all the rest of it, none of that now at United, even though they're a big club. If he doesn't get what happens with big characters and big natural leaders is, if they don't get the response they want from the people around them, something's got to give. And you can't trust Martinez to behave in a vaguely professional way in that scenario, right? All I'm saying, I'm not trying to predict the future. I'm just saying it's a risk. It's a risk.
I expect he's kind of different off the pitch.
I don't think
he's
he's
absolutely
that risk, to be honest.
He's
He tried to
absolutely
fuck a trophy off the pitch.
Yeah, that was
after
brilliant.
he'd won the World Cup.
Marcus did the same thing with that trophy behind him.
That was
Exactly.
off a pitch. That was on a stage.
Yeah. Still the WhatsApp group photo, and rightly so.
Just on our Jim, trophies, mate.
Yeah.
Trophies. Let's get me in.
Marcus is a different character off the mic, and I really mean that. And I really mean
But
that.
I have scored goals at Old Trafford.
A goal.
2 goals.
2 was it?
2 goals.
I thought the Quentin Fortune one.
Yeah.
What's the other one? Made it yourself, did you?
There's another one.
Made it yourself.
I can't. It wasn't from Quentin Fortune.
No.
But it was. It went in the back of the net.
It was assisted. That wasn't assisted by Quentin Fortune. It was assisted by some bloke from fucking Bubble from Big Brother. Something like that.
It wasn't one of those games.
Oh, okay, right.
Anyway, look. Let's enough about me. We'll save that for the encore. So yes, back at Manchester United, Amorim said recently, sometimes I hate my players, sometimes I love my players. This is my way of doing things. Sometimes I want to quit, sometimes I want to be here for 20 years. Sometimes I love to be with my players, sometimes I don't want to be with them. Sometimes I hate my kids. I'm going to be like that. That is not going to change.
In his first press conference, which is not that long ago, he said, I believe I'm the right guy. I'm a dreamer. Now he's saying, sometimes I hate my kids. That's what Man United can do to you so quickly.
They've got to
and he's refreshingly honest, isn't he? But he's honest in the way like
Too honest.
Richard Gadd is honest. You know, it's really...
It's quite hard to watch.
Really extreme. Yeah. So do you need to admit these things out loud?
Yeah.
I think what he should have done is done what Unai Emery said. Just said a player's name randomly until the interview was over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have done that. And what's happening? I know we've got to move on, but Amorim has really benefited from his record being obscured by just how bad Man United are generally.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there are people now starting to say that, you know, you're rubbing along at kind of fewer points than games at Man United.
Yeah.
And you're getting knocked out by Grimsby. You know, you can't explain that away. You need to be better than that. And now the veil is starting to fall. And so I don't think a game where you have a bit of life or death against Burnley at home and you manage to come out on the right side of it means much.
Yeah.
Really.
Concede 2 goals to a promoted team at home. It's pretty bad still.
This is the lowest it's been post-Ferguson.
Yeah.
And we still talk about
I
post-Ferguson.
tell you though, these 2 results at the weekend, or just the general results so far, set up the Manchester derby so brilliantly.
Yeah. You know what will happen? Like United will win 1-0 or something.
It'd be boring.
Yeah, it would be really boring. Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know. Let's end with the first big derby of the season, local derby, Chelsea 2, Fulham 0. The whole thing was really dominated by that VAR call when Josh King scored, but it was disallowed from a careless challenge according to the referee, when he stood on the foot of a Chelsea defender. That was Rodrigo Menez of Fulham.
My God.
Bollocks, Jim, bollocks.
Yeah, what's so annoying about this to me is that, obviously I have not played at any sort of high level of football. Whenever I've played football recently, you two have basically been there. And it's sometimes you get hurt,
try and forget it.
Sometimes you get stood on, and that's just part of it, isn't it? And,
It's annoying,
and this is one of those examples where it's just a little bit of collateral damage. I'm sure it's painful for Trevor Chalobah, but the reason put forward by the referee for the disallowal was Fulham 9 commits a careless challenge. It's like he doesn't commit a challenge at all.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I personally, for me, I'm not going to get hung up on the language used by the referee because
I'm fucking. You carry on because I'm raging about this.
So,
Absolutely raging.
To me, I don't give a damn. The fact is, the goal was chalked off. That's the thing that's annoyed me, not the subsequent chat after from the referee. To me, it's a ridiculous decision. And I've never known a commentary team and the pundits at halftime be so unanimous and so opinionated about what a poor decision it was.
I listened to it on the radio, and I genuinely thought that one of the pundits on 5 Live was going to leave the studio.
Yeah,
he was almost. I forget what there was. Don't forget, there was quite a few of them, so I can't remember exactly which one it was. It might have been Curtis Davis.
Davis was fuming.
Yeah, and it was almost like he couldn't quite understand what has happened. But almost like Graham Souness or whatever. We've got our game back and all the rest of it. But like,
we've lost it.
The thing that I was thought about it a lot. Actually, after, because it was on Saturday evening, wasn't it? I was driving back from the Portsmouth game.
Was it 12:30 kickoff here on Saturday?
Oh, sorry. Obviously, I was driving to the Portsmouth game. Sorry, yeah, forgive me. And I thought about it a lot. I was like, what's happening there? And I've obviously watched it on my phone afterwards and checked it and stuff. And the thing that I landed on about why I'm so annoyed about it was, to me, it's just the rank arrogance of it. It's the rank. Do you know what? I'll tell you a few things. There's 3 reasons why it's the most arrogant thing you will ever see in the Premier League this season. The first thing is intervening. I've got to intervene in this because I've decided that I know more than all you lot, and this is clear and obvious. The second point is that the statement comes out, which is blatantly untrue. It's not. Forget the perception. Forget the kind of we all interpret things differently. Right? It cannot be the case that he's made a careless challenge when you see what's happened there and the fact that, bear in mind, he's in possession of the ball, right? So that's bullshit. The third thing is, and this wasn't reported enough, and it needs to be said, right? Do you know what they did? Do you know what Pugmol did? I'm fucking fuming about this. Pugmol, right? They removed that VAR official from the Sunday's official duties. So they know that was wrong, right? Then they've quietly ushered the guy out the back door and hoping no one will notice. A little change around. And the whole thing stinks to high heaven. And I'll tell you why. The final point I want to make is you're being very sporting about it, Mark, as a Fulham fan. I know you're annoyed about it.
That's the Fulhamish way.
You're holding yourself to a controlled way. Good for you. But the thing that's worst about it, I think, from a footballing point of view, is that Chelsea score in the time added on from this ridiculous decision in the first place. If they hadn't intervened in an arrogant way in the first place, there wouldn't have been 9 minutes in the first half, and Chelsea wouldn't have scored the goal. It's an absolute scandal, and it needs to be treated as such. And something should be done. Like Marco Silva carried himself with incredible control.
I thought he was going to get sent off,
and rightly so.
And do you know what? I would have egged him on to do it. He waited for the referee.
It was wild.
And the referee again. That sort of away.
It's the worst decision you'll see. It's so poor.
I thought Silva's going to get tore into.
I don't mind. Look, I don't mind a referee making a mistake and the VAR coming in and saying you've made a mistake there. Right, that's fine. But to intervene in that way, you're looking for things to ruin people's fucking afternoon.
I think that's it. It's the nitpicking. It's going through it with a fine tooth comb. Going, how can we chalk off this goal?
Yeah, absolutely. Weren't they checking for an offside originally as well?
It doesn't matter. I mean, look, what I would say is that the penalty Chelsea got. I thought to myself, I can see that. I can see that being given. So that,
it happened with Fulham the week before with Bassi.
Yeah, well, indeed. And
the thing with that one, Marcus, right, sorry to cut in, but the thing with that one is...
Yeah, that was poor.
They intervene on the Bassi thing. In the same camera shot, Luke Shaw's doing the same thing behind him.
Well, there was one at Sunderland.
Game,
Exactly, Sunderland, right? Sunderland should have got a penalty.
The Palace wall as well.
Yeah, but the thing with the Sunderland game in Brentford, a great win for Sunderland, by the way, is you could see the referee in the second half. They were almost making up for it because they then give one when it happens, and you can see that happening.
Well, there was holding on Nathan Collins.
Yes.
He got a penalty for that. And there was but the exact same scenario with the exact same two players happening in the first half as well. There's so much of it going on.
What they need to do is they need to be big enough under Howard Webb, and they used to take a step back. They need to just undo all this stupid shit and say we need to start again. VAR's going to stay, it's going to stay, but we need to just stop because we're piling more and more shit on and we're getting ourselves mixed up. Yeah. And it's now so far removed from the sport itself. It's letting every single person down. Players, fans, managers, all the rest of it.
Yeah. I do think it's slightly different with the holding thing, though, because the point of this is to eradicate it, right? And as we always say,
they'll do it for about 6 weeks, Jim, and they'll forget about it.
Yeah, well, this is what they need to not do, right? Because what we always say is like, oh, look, if players start giving away penalties or they start getting red cards for this behaviour, they'll stop doing it. And this is part of that process, right? But they do need to be strong on it and be consistent with it. Yeah,
because I find that maddening when a player is standing still and the defender is not letting him. It's like, no, you can't stop me from standing here, for crying out loud. Better news for Fulham. It looks like they're going to make a signing.
Yeah, Kevin from Home Alone.
Get Kevin there.
Yeah, Kevin.
Big Kev.
He's going to chuck little micro machines all over the wing.
Yeah.
So all the fullbacks slip over.
That's got to be the chant, like the sort of Icelandic thunderclap.
Kevin! Yeah.
He looks great, Marcus. He looks a really good player. He looks
get him in.
Left-sided forward, right-footed.
Yeah.
Great feet. I mean, you can't really read too much into the old YouTube compilations, but he does look good.
He does look a good player.
I think a fully fit Anthony Robinson behind him would be a really, really good thing.
Yeah, well, hopefully that'll keep Marcus Silva a little bit happy because he was very unhappy once again due to lack of signings, but more so refereeing decisions, of course. He did manage to avoid himself getting sent off, which I thought was
remarkable
very much,
restraint.
The red card was on the cards.
From the man from the Iberian Peninsula as well.
Well, that's right. Yeah,
even trickier. They run very hot. Don't they?
Yes, but
we like him.
I want to end the show with a sending off that happened in Romania. The stadium announcer at Romanian club Craiova in their game against Istanbul Başakşehir last week, so a big game. It was a fracas broke out when the Romanian side scored their third goal, and then the strangest moment came when the referee showed a straight red card to the stadium announcer, who was giving it his all into the microphone, celebrating the third goal for the side, for the home side.
Surely a red card's or a referee's authority doesn't stretch that far.
Well, indeed.
Is he just walking around the town at the weekend
let's
sending
be honest,
people off?
How much pride would you have if you're that stadium announcer? Every stadium announcer in the world, they got a red card, baby.
He looked like such a bellend as well.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I actually asked ChatGPT if a referee's got the authority to do it.
Huh?
And they said that if the announcer misbehaves by making inappropriate comments over the PA system, trying to influence players or referees, inciting the crowd or disrespecting the official, the referee should pause the match and report the behaviour to the match delegate and request the announcer be removed. The showing of a red card, it seems, is just pure theatre, and that's why I'm here for it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How about that? Well, I'd mind how you go with AI, because it told me last week that Oasis aren't touring, and if you buy tickets for that, then they'll all be fraudulent.
It also told me that Jerry Frimpong still plays for Bayer Leverkusen.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. And we're using our drinking water to power it.
Yeah, I know.
It has to be drinking water, apparently.
Well, otherance I get dehydrated. They won't be able to answer your questions, Jim.
Think about the big thing.
Yeah.
Jim, for crying out loud.